big game just came out on PlayStation consoles. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called The Order.
Never heard of it.
1886. Now, you guys, I want to hear your thoughts. And this is going to get a little spoilery.
Yeah, time out real quick. This is going to be big time spoiler conversation.
Yeah,
so if you haven't played it, put it aside. This is going to talk about after the ending and what we want to do with the game.
Yeah.
So put it aside. No big deal. Otherwise, we're going to spoiler contest.
So think of this as the spoiler cast of Order 1886.
Yeah.
We're discussing The Order 1887.
Oh!
Could it happen? How will it happen?
It will.
Let me know your thoughts.
In the comments or right now?
Right now.
Oh, okay. I think Colin and I are the same hive mind that yes, it'll happen. 1,000%. This is clear. You look up there at this beautiful PlayStation portrait I had painted, commissioned by Shuhei Yoshida to paint himself. And like of the options, right there in the center is Galahad. Duh. And so like that's his big thing. I was like, The Order is something they want to make into a thing. You can of course catch our review discussion here. Colin and I thought it was okay. We liked it enough. You know what I mean? Like I don't regret playing it or anything, but like it's on the shelf now. It won't be touched again unless some crazy DLC comes out. And so that's fine for that. For a first step, it's not bad. Now you go the Assassin's Creed model, right? And the second one, hopefully, leaps and bounds better. But Colin, is it happening? What's it going to be?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, so the game ends in a very definitive way where there's a cliffhanger. And so I think that it's not a cliffhanger. I mean, the story's wrapped up in a way, but it really isn't.
We didn't go after the big vampire dude.
The core, yeah, well, that and the course, yeah. So the villain is still alive at the
What's
end.
his name?
God, I remember.
This is my problem.
He's like an old man.
The core cast is awesome. Yeah, the old man shows up like twice, and then he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a fucking vampire." And I was like, "I just found out vampires are a thing 2 seconds ago. There's a lot for me to take in, old vampire man." And I saw your dick. A lot of dick in The Order. I meant to call that out in the
Not
review.
a lot of dick.
There's a couple dicks.
There's some dick in it.
Well,
There's the old man's dick. There's the wolf man who turns on me's dick, and then another dick out there too.
Dick scale is one of those things where it's like the difference between no dick and a lot of dick only requires, I think, 1 dick.
There was 3 dicks there. Yeah, come on now.
There's a few dicks. But the story ends. So the story ends inconclusively in a way that some subplots are wrapped up, but that Galahad is still on the run.
Yeah.
Presumably from the Order. The Vampire Man is still alive, and London is now under martial law. So
it ends like
it ends setting up the next game.
And but it's credits and it's out of the credits into like their post credits scene, and it's like him standing up, looking over the scene. It's super Batman-y. Like he's like the next game would be him running around martial law London trying to stop Vampire Man and his dick and just like making sure this shit doesn't get serious.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a big problem, vampire dick.
But I mean, like it was like so blatantly that there's got to be another one, and that's not annoying. Like I don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these guys of like but I do like a conclusive end to it. And really, when you're building this game out and like the story as I'm playing it, and then they're like Vampire Man's the big bad guy. I was like, all right. I'm going to kick the fucking fangs out of this guy's face. But then it's like, oh, no, fight this Wolfman first. I'm like, all right, I fight Wolfman, and then it's credits. I'm like, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, that was my thing earlier in our conversation of just like, I felt like the story just didn't, it kind of meandered a bit there at the end. And
it just hit a wall, whatever, I think, because I think they are stretching it into a new game. So I think The Order 1887 is what it's going to be called. And I think that it because the story begins mid-October, 1886 goes into December. So you would presume that they would just name it The Order 1887. But
I don't think they will. I think it'll be named something too.
Really?
Different.
The Order 1886 too?
No, I think it'll just probably be The Order 2, Vampire Man's dick. But there'll be something after the colon.
I hope they call it The Order 1887 because I think that would be cool.
I do too, but I think 2 sell better.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is. I think it'll just be another 8-hour third-person shooter. I just think that, there's more story to be told, and it'll be a weird place to stop. And my assumption based on the boldness of the ending is that the game's greenlit already.
I was going to say, this is the question. So, what are the hurdles to this game? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this game's so bad, Ready at Dawn should be closed or anything like that. But I mean, do they have to hit a sales marker for this to get to the sequel? I mean, like we always talk about, like Sony's not afraid to close, first parties as they've shown lately. Like
they don't own Ready at Dawn though, but
that's a great point. Sorry, but I was going like Evolution's the next one I think on the chopping block of like
yes,
Drive Club, you fucked this up, get out the PlayStation Plus one, then we're gonna talk about what happens. But then The Order, Ready at Dawn, they can't close the studio, but they can choose not to work with them unless there's
or they can take the game and give it to someone else.
Yeah.
So no, my assumption is that there is no sales barometer because I'm sure that the game's going to sell like over 1 million copies. I don't know like whether it's going to be profitable or not. That's not a lot of copies. PlayStation All-Star sold over 1 million copies in that. Obviously, Superbot was shut down. But I think, my theory is that they worked on this game for so long that Sony's like, you have the engine and all the character models basically you need now. Like, so a lot of the art, obviously they're going to make new art and new environments, but a lot of the technical things are done. So you have 2 years. And this game, like the sequel will come out fall 2017 or something. Like make the game, and hopefully that will maybe will back sell into 1886, and they'll have this new game that maybe is successful, whatever. But I think that the idea is to turn it around, quickly. And so I think that people are going to start asking this question in earnest next week. To ruin the guy, to Andrea and all the guys at Ready at Dawn. The sequel setup is obvious. So what is the story? Are you doing it? And I think the answer is going to be yes. And I think that they're going to go back to it, and you'll see it at E3 in 2016, and all that kind of stuff. I think they have to turn it around very quickly. The other possibility is that maybe they cut the game. Maybe they had a story very much like Star Wars, where it's like you just have to cut off part of it and just make it into its own thing later on. So it'll happen. What it's going to be, who the hell knows? But yeah, I think it's a lock, basically.
You think they come to the New World? Because remember, that was part of this story, is that fact they're trying to ship the vampires
to
over
America.
Yeah.
Maybe. That'd be cool if they went to Boston or New York City.
Yeah.
But then you lose
all the
those
assets. Yeah.
I think you stay in London.
In martial law, again. We got to figure this out and get Vampire Man's dick.
I think you stay in London. Yeah.
I got to get that good dick.
Good.
It's actually bad, though, because he's a vampire man.
Good.
So, I mean, an important thing about cliffhangers like that is how much you're like, oh, shit, I want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
How much do you want to know what happens next?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Man,
but I think that
that's not good.
No,
because I think the story's set up nicely, but as Greg said, it hits a wall at some point and becomes a little fractured. And it's a shame because there's interesting characters in there.
Yeah.
Including old vampire Dickman. Could be an interesting character. It's just like, there's not enough time to develop them.
Exactly.
And which is weird because there's so many cutscenes in the game.
But the ones they spent time on worked, like Gallahan and Izzy, right? Like, I like them. I like eventually it turns out, they're kind of a thing, and that they will be a thing if he just fucking proposes and da-da-da-da. And it's like, okay, cool. And then, like, now you're at this separation, right, where she's out to stop the rebellion. He's a big part of it. I want to know their story. I fucking feel robbed that I didn't get to see them meet in the finale. I thought that's what we were building towards, and that just doesn't happen. So if in game 2 that gets to be a big part of it, it's her chasing him or whatever, that's fine. It's also kind of fucked up that, if all these signs started popping up that Christine was part of some rebellion, she's part of Team Skinny all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know about this. What are you doing? What are you thinking about? And then, like, it is revealed that she was, I would still be like, whoa, let's have a conversation. Are you fucking trying to sink Team Fat? And if she's like, no, it's just all these weird coincidences, I'd be like, all right, cool. You're still my girl. But, like, they didn't have that conversation. It was just like, Izzy's like, no, fucking burn him at the stake. It's over. This guy sucks. I was like, what?
Yeah, there's unanswered questions with Izzy and Galahad, but yeah, I don't even know. I don't really care enough to know. I just know that we're going to find out.
It or not, it's going to happen.
Now, the big question is, and we brought this up on the spoiler cast, whatever the hell we called it, was the review discussion, or whatever it was.
The spoiler cast. Review discussion was
the review discussion, which was, is it possible that this is just DLC? And
no.
And I don't know. Like, that's what's so weird about the Order as a sterile product, like a standalone. It's just sterile. It just is this campaign with no bells or whistles at all.
Yeah.
And no
the
new game
armory
plus.
We don't know anything about.
No, yeah, it's just weird. Like, I don't know exactly like what we can expect out of this. So maybe it is DLC, but I hope they don't wrap it up that rapidly.
If it was the DLC, they would have said something. When everybody started losing their shit about this, Ready at Dawn's had so many interviews. They would have been like, "Listen, it's 8 hours long, and we're gonna give you this. We're charge you for it. We're gonna get DLC 6 months from now." Because, like, what you're talking about is 1,000% what's going to happen is that kids are going to bring this thing home on Friday night, because it comes out on Friday. They will beat it midday Saturday, and they will trade that fucker in on Sunday if they're smart. They will jump back in and be like, wait, there's nothing to do in this. Well, fuck this. Why would I hold on to this? Let's get it before GameStop is all like... They're
flooded with...
They're going to notice pretty quick all these orders coming in. This is me over the GameStop ledger. Ledger, by the way. Oh, what are all these orders?
Do you think that they made the right call in ending the game this way, like with the open up sequels, to get people hyped for it? Or do you think it would have been a better choice to have made this just a complete story and go from there?
I think it would have been a better choice to make a complete story. I believe that, yes, there is a plan for a sequel. I believe that, yes, Ready at Dawn is probably working on it in some, there's a pre-production team working on it. I don't think it's a guarantee that this is going to come out. I think the Order will probably under-deliver on sales on what they were expecting, and you look at the marketing budget and you look at everything you did to it, and there'll have to be that discussion in 6 months of like, all right, no, this isn't a franchise. We're trying to make it a franchise, because we've been talking in this episode, right, that Sony's actually making the right decisions. So if they can go the route of like, we're going to fucking make this a thing, or they can go the thing of like, it didn't hit the way we wanted to, and now there is this thing to it that people think it's a short game, they weren't blown away,
Yeah. Well, it's very reminiscent of Assassin's Creed in a lot of ways. Kind of even from the outside, where the first one is fine, but like.
But Assassin's Creed, I don't feel like that's 100% true, and that Assassin's Creed did deliver on his promise. Remember, that was like Hillary said, this is the first next gen game. I remember when he was working at IGN, and so, but it was still like, I don't feel like right on the eve of Assassin's Creed going where people are like, this is 4 hours long. What the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, there's like already this like taint to it.
Yeah, there is.
There's like
stink.
there's this thing in the air, and it's no matter what happens, people are going to play that game on Friday, and they are going to say, I beat it in 6 hours. That's going to happen. I beat it in 7 hours. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to even bump into 9 by any chance. Like, you're going to get to like 8 hours. You were 8, right? You said?
Yeah,
and then
about 8 hours. I didn't time myself.
7-ish. Yeah, of course not. Of course not.
My only thing was that it's just, I don't understand how you could possibly beat it in 5 hours.
Yeah,
unless you just run.
But that's what's going to get lost. Is it's not going to become that it's a 5-hour game. It's going to be that this is a short game. That's what's going to be said, right? Especially when you consider there's no, first off, reason to go. There's nothing inviting you back to play. Because like I was talking about, there's this thing in the menu that says Armory, right? And I thought, oh, that's when I'm done, I replay levels and I can click on Armory and choose whatever weapon and get the trophy I need. Went back, I couldn't do that. I was like, oh, interesting. And then I clicked on New Game. I clicked on, well, why? It's true. But again, why wouldn't you say that? Even just said coming soon. Yeah. I click on New Game and no New Game Plus. And it's just like, well, why? No. Why would I do this?
Well, until you said the GameStop thing of them trading in the game, when you said like why wouldn't they announce that, I feel like there's such a stigma about announcing DLC before the games come out that like maybe they wouldn't want to do that.
There's a stigma in the way of like, oh, why isn't it on the disc? But there is also the stigma of, well, I already bought this game, I better hold on for the DLC, like that. You know what I mean? Like
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
It's like when you get your arm cut off, which I am familiar with.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like even if you tie the tourniquet tight, you're still gonna lose some blood. Like people are gonna trade the game back no matter what. You know what I mean? But you would stop most of it. You would stop at least some of it. You'd stop a percentage of it that would then equate to sales, knock on wood, for Sony. But like now you don't have that at all. You know what I mean?
I mean, is there any chance of it just being a standalone downloadable title, like not DLC, but just like
sure, yeah, you're talking about like First Light.
Yeah,
possible, but I feel like you would have said something. I just feel like that there's what's their play for not saying something right now? You know what I mean? Especially, and if it's standalone, standalone could be fine, I guess, that whatever, because then, yeah, you wouldn't need the disc, and you wouldn't need to say anything now.
I mean, is there advantage to, like I know there's certain games, there's many games that they want to keep in people's houses and stuff, but maybe this is just an experience that's like, all right, we already got your money. You know what I mean? Like, you'll buy the standalone one.
But the resale... If people start trading this game back, it's going to collapse the used game sale market for this game, and it's going to be really cheap, and then it's going to kill their new game sales for this game. Like, it's going to be it's going to break their back, you know, like on this game. It's going to be really interesting. I agree with Greg, but I also don't. This is the problem with going gold so early, you know. And I think that what you're going to find out above all else, everyone's kind of worrying about the reaction to Sony and like why aren't they saying anything. I think the reaction is going to be the future games. You are not going to see future first party games available that early ever again, you know, from them. Like, the game was published and printed like 3 weeks ago, you know? And because the game had gone gold so early and the team was done. So I think that, like, in my opinion, what Sony's learning is, like, we can't do that again. Because inevitably, as we've retweeted pictures and seen pictures, they end up out there early. You know, people have them. Hundreds of people have already played the game, according to PSN profiles, that are not critics. And this is what happens. And so I think, unfortunately, what's going to happen is they're going to be like, nope, you know, like, hold tighter onto these copies of the game, and... let's not make this happen again, because good or bad, whether or not Ready at Dawn and it made a good game or not, I don't think they did make a good game. I think they made an okay game. It's kind of sucks for them.
Oh shit!
That they put all this work into this game, again, whether it's good or bad, but now it is already, like you said, it is already tainted, and it hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not their fault. That's Sony's. You know, for not being tighter with the copies of the game and all that kind of stuff. So. You know, it's unfortunate. You don't see it very often. You don't see that very often. You don't see what happens to this game very often. The line on this game is negative all over the goddamn place. And I don't know if they can overcome it. And I think that's the real shame. But back to the original question, they're going to do another one. Sony has been very clear, and a lot of companies are very clear, that they don't make one-off games. They don't make games to be one-off. Now, Sony's not implicit about that, like, say, Activision would be, or Ubi or whatever.
Serialize everything.
But I don't think you go into any game, even The Last of Us, and be like, this is it. You know,
sure.
The Last of Us was left open for a sequel, and it's going to get one. You know, and The Order was left wide open for a sequel, and it's going to get one.
To jump way back to topic 2, I have a prediction for E3, and that it'll be at E3 this year during the PlayStation press conference. They'll talk about PlayStation Plus and how great it is, and they'll add The Order.
Because Could be. I think Ready at Dawn's fine. I think that they're not in the family. They're not going to be in the family. I think that if Sony's identifying new studios to buy, it's got to be someone like Quantic Dream or Housemarque. But they'll be fine and they'll move on and they'll do a different game if they don't do this. They're not going to close down.
No, yeah.
But I do think that their next game will be the sequel to this game, and I think that I think this game's good for some good sales, but I agree it's going to underperform. And when like I said with Pachter, like when he was like the game's could sell up to 5 million copies, I don't think that's possible. I just don't. I don't see how that can be possible. Yeah, but maybe he he's a very smart man. I mean, maybe he obviously knows a lot, but I don't know.
He has no.
It's just an interesting story, man. Like the whole thing with the Order, the whole journey with this game has been really weird. And I think that like from the get-go, it's been fucking weird. Yeah. The way they reveal. Let's go back. Right. The game leaks in spring 2013 at a trademark filing. No one knows what the hell it is. Right. It leaks at the same time as like other names like Entwined and shit like that. I think. Then they show that trailer at E3, right? And the trailer looks cool, and they're like, it's Ready at Dawn. They bill Santa Monica really highly. People are confused that they think Santa Monica's working on the game. They're not. Santa Monica's ex-dev is like helping produce the game. Then I see it behind closed doors at E3. They never show the game. And this was like one of the most infuriating things they don't show the game. I go to a meeting, and they show me the same trailer, and then they give me 5 minutes to talk to them. I've never seen anything like this before. And I was like, okay. And I wasted all my time being like, is it a shooter? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, is it a first-person shooter? And they're like, no. I'm like, third-person. They're like, yes. And I'm like, so it takes place in 1886. Yeah, and it's London. And they're like, all right, time's up. And I'm like, you could have just shown me literally 10 seconds of the game, and that would have answered all those questions. Yeah. Okay. Then I go to Gamescom later that year, and again we have a behind closed-door demo. And I'm like, all right, now we're gonna see the game. And so I get there and I sit there, and they have a demo running in a white room, no textures, with Galahad in there shooting shit. To show like how the physics work, and then he goes into like a courtyard that I don't even think is in the game, and they're like shooting pots and pans, going like, "This is how the game interacts, and this is how the engine works." And I'm like,
"Why are these pans in the courtyard?"
And I'm like, "Okay, this is very impressive." This is when they talk about their dedication to the history of the game, and they went to London and they took all the pictures. Okay, I'm like, "All right, that's cool, fine." It's not until January of the next year that we even see the game. When we see the game, it is in terrible shape. It's not running well. It looks contrived and boring. Vince and I remember clear as day turning to Vincent and being like, "Is this good?" And he's like, I'm like, I don't really know if this is good, something like that. And he's like, "No, it's not."
Yeah.
And then I wrote my preview. Everyone attacked me for it. Then, that footage leaks. Everyone sees that the game's running poorly. Then we see it at E3 with the Lycan demo in the library or whatever, or in the hospital.
Yeah, when he's chasing you,
which looks awesome. Then we see. So it's like it was always weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always weird, and now it is still weird. You know what I mean? Like, at the end. At the very end, this happens. It's like, man, like, what a weird game.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like,
it's true. No, 100%.
When you really think about it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, how weird do you think this game is? Are you enjoying it? Let us know in the comments. And once you beat it, let us know what you think about a sequel, if you want a sequel, and what you want from that sequel. This has been the first ever episode 8 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Stay tuned next week for the first ever episode 9. And until then, I fucking love you. As I stare into Greg's
I was going to say, me? You're like the listener?
I love Greg.
You love listeners?
I love Greg.
You love the listeners?
I love them too.
Right.
But I love, everyone equally.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't feel weird.